In the last video, we went over state machines as well as animation transitions, and I realized at the beginning of the video I gave some incorrect information. This was dealing with casting. I had set this up in a way that would always fail. I had the cast to main player controller, the object being the owning actor, which is incorrect. It should have been the player controller. This will allow this to always succeed, and we'll use this later. And the proper owning actor cast is casting to your character's blueprint, where we have the sprites and movement and such. And we want to set that as a variable too. Secondly, within your animation transitions, I would recommend swapping things out. Instead of having the get player controller, we're going to use the character blueprint and just do it like that. Using the get player controller or player character, sorry, very similar words, can create some problems in the future with destroying and possessing pawns. Same with in here, within the actual idle running, making sure this is the player character. And in here, we're just going to play it safe for now, as this is what I have found to work best. All right, next, this is the main point of the video. We're going to cover jumps. If you right click, we have a thing called a jump. This can be renamed, and the syntax matters, whatever you want to name it. I'm going to use this for airborne. So I've named it airborne. There are no spaces following it. It is just airborne. That's it. I've connected it pulling off of here to the outer square. And this is going to let us jump to this, go here, and then back. Now we don't have a back and forth between these two. It helps with some fluidity and just making things run a little bit better and without getting too messy and too complicated, especially when you start to add forms of attacking and more complicated animations. So if we hop into our player controller, we'll see I've created a little bit of code here. Using the event on possesses, you can either just search it or come over here, override, and find it. It would be around here somewhere. With the event on possesses, we need to bind to movement mode changed delegate. These took me a second to understand when I first learned them. Essentially what's going on here, this movement mode changed exists within your character blueprint. If we were to come in here, check the same override on movement mode changed. And what this would do normally, if we did all of our coding within here, every time we changed movement modes, which remember a movement mode, we can pull them up here. Actually, I gotta do, we can get the movement modes. There should be set. Yeah, there we go. So this is a built-in Unreal solution. They have different movement modes: walking, nav mesh, falling, swimming, flying, and then custom. Custom can be a little bit difficult to figure out, but for how the engine runs, it will go between walking and falling for what we care about right now. Remember, anytime you are in the air, you are falling. Falling under the effects of gravity, jumping, walking off edges of a surface. So every time we experience a change, whether it's between walking into falling, this will fire. This is just better coding. These are referred to as binding events. Instead of checking every tick, you could do this. Check every tick for when your velocity is, your Z velocity is not 0, and then determining things off of there. But that's just bad coding practice. We want to avoid checking things on the tick. And this is a solution that Unreal has offered, is binding events. However, we do not have access to this movement mode changed because we don't have any form of a character movement. Also, let's ignore that. So what we have to do is reference the player character, so over here, and then we're going to perform the bind and it gives us access to it as a custom event. Next, we're casting to the PaperZD character using this character who it's checking who actually had the movement mode changed, and we want to get that PaperZD character. We get their character movement, their movement mode. A switch is just kind of like a fancy Boolean. If you've never seen them before, it makes things simpler. Instead of coming in here and making a branch and being like, okay, is this equal to this one? And then if that's true, oh no, if it's false, we need to do another branch. Is it equal to this one, and so on, where we have a lot of branching, just branches. We can use what is referred to as a switch, where we just come in here, type switch, and pull off of what we want. So we could do anything. We can now use just from walking or nav mesh walking, falling, whatever custom movement modes we create. It makes things just a lot simpler and more readable. Now, we want to, as the actual PaperZD character, get the animation component, get the anim instance. This is referencing, it's coming in here into our PaperZD character. It's checking this. This is the anim component, and then it's checking this. So we're getting this to be able to get this, the anim instance. Remember, this is this blueprint. So we're kind of going through a whole bunch of checks to get to here. And what that allows us to do, once we get that, we can perform a jump. So whenever we're falling, we are now going to, within this animation instance, which is our big cultist for me right now, perform the jump to airborne whenever we're falling. And it just works out nice. It looks, so every time we fall, we go into the airborne, whether that is vertical velocity with a jump or negative velocity with the actual fall, which works out perfectly. And this solution is more dynamic, allowing us to perform it with other characters, just swapping between characters instead of hard coding it within the actual character blueprint. We now have a bit more of a dynamic solution within the player controller. That should be about it for this video. In the next video, I'm gonna go over some playback speeds and just different animation, just some more animation transitions and actual states and such. Thanks for watching.